Well, so besides metaverse NFT wines, any trends in wine that you hate? Like boxed wine, wine in cans and bodegas.
No, you know what?
Frosé.
No, frosés are delicious, actually.
Do you slap the bag?
Yeah, you slap the bag.
Frosés are delicious. No, I think there's a time and place for anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not above any of those things. And I tell people all the time, I joke about it too. I'm like, listen, man, you got a bad bottle of wine, just pop it in the freezer. It'll mute any flavor. And then just chug it and just have fun. Like you're just trying to get lit, right? I mean, like if that's your goal, you know what I mean. Or sometimes I'm like, like I'll buy something sometimes, and I don't always buy the right thing. Like, like sometimes I'm like, oh my god, this will look cool, and then you try like this wine sucks, and you're like, just be like, you know what? Just get some ice cubes, mix it with Coca-Cola. Who cares? You know what I mean? Have fun with it. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not above things like that. So I like things. I think the one trend I think that really does bother me, God, is the natural wine trend, right? Like this.
Okay, because I see that everywhere in Brooklyn.
Right.
Every shop says natural wine. Or
whatever. Where it's like, oh, like natural wine. You're like, what the hell? Like, so there's so many. Yeah. There's so many things that comes with natural wine when you think about it like that, and then like the idea of like, well, minimal sulfites that are added to the wine, right? And that's another thing that, fuck, man, people are like, I'm allergic to sulfites, and you're like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I really want to say that as cold as I can, but I can't. Right, and I'm just like, oh, really? It's like, oh, have you tried, like, and I'm just like, maybe you should try taking an antihistamine. Sometimes just the histamine, it's not. And they're like, no, I'm allergic to sulfites. And you're like, fuck, okay. And you're like, and then you're like, oh, what else? And then then they'll order something, and they're like, oh, can I get fries? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then you bring them the fries, and then they're dunking it in the ketchup, and I'm like, dog, the ketchup has more sulfites than the wine. Like, you're not allergic to sulfites. You know what I mean?
What an idiot.
Yeah. No, you know what I mean?
Just heard it on a TikTok.
It's just like, oh man, it's just cringe. But it's not their fault. It's it's people that are saying like, well, you're allergic to tannins, or you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, or red wine gives me headaches, and you're like, no, it doesn't. Like, you just drank a lot. Like, you just drink a lot.
It's called a hangover, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, no, it wasn't the red wine. How much did you have? We had 4 bottles. Like, yeah, dog, yeah, that's why, because you just drank a lot. But no, it's like, it's terms like that get tossed around. I think it's just used for marketing, where it's like, it'll say no sulfites added. There's no sulfite free wine, right? But like the way it's worded makes it sound like there's no sulfites in my wine, and then or it'll be like, oh, like biodynamic, and you're like, we're all saying that, like, we're saying these old things, and then there's a lot of producers like from Italy or France that just I've been making wine for 400 years in my family, like, and I don't know what the hell natural wine is. It's just how we do things.
Yeah.
And like if you label that natural or biodynamic or organic, like, cool, but like this is just what we do. Like, I'm not gonna pay all this money to put a little stamp of approval on my label. You know what I mean? Like, that's so goofy. Because those things get a little ridiculous, where it gets to the point where it's like, well, like, do you care if the fence is painted? Because the paint isn't fucking organic, or you know what I mean? Like, then now, like, you know what I mean? Now the whole vineyard is not organic because of that. You know what I mean? It's like, does that really matter? Like, so when people say that, it's like, what? It's like being a vegan. You know what I mean? It's like weird, right? It's just like how far do you how far are you gonna go into that? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so honey's not cool? Like, really? Like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems a little silly. So that's the one thing that I think that bothers me, and I think I'm not sure who the people that are like throwing this misinformation out there.
Big natural,
big people. This is super. I don't know who it is, man. Like, there's somebody on Instagram probably just saying this and just like getting all this clout, and then they were like, and then all these people coming to my bar and being like, I want natural wines. They're like, oh man, come on, man. Like, most of it is like that, and it's like, I'm just like, and that's it. That's all they got for me. There's nothing else. It's just, I just want natural wine. Like, cool. And just like, sometimes it's kind of like, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pour you whatever. Like, here you go. Just
it sounds like people are just playing themselves almost, where it's like they trick themselves into thinking like, oh, I can taste this, or like I know the difference. But it's like, a lot of times it sounds like you can just put a clever wording of like no sulfites added, and it's like, and actually nothing really changed. Yeah. But you think it did.
Yeah, you think now.
Because you played this game now that you saw it, that it's different.
Right. This is the one I want now.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like now all of a sudden that's the only reason why you want it, right? Where it's like, oh, it's like, well, here's this plain black T-shirt, right? And then like
Kanye made it.
Yeah. Now Kanye. Now there's a little Supreme on it. It's like, I'll spend $100 on that. Like, what? Like, it's still a black T-shirt, right? But it's unfortunate that like, people are doing that, and there's people that take advantage of that situation, and it sucks. And I think Cork Buzz and what we do, I think it's important for us to try to relay that information and have patience. You have to be patient with people, and and I try to be patient as much as possible because again, at the end of the day, it is my job, and at the end of the day, I do want people to come back, and I want people to learn from that, and I want to tell them like, hey, like, don't get suckered into this, like, don't get caught up into this little scheme and things like that.